Nike just dropped millions on a Caitlin Clark commercial featuring Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce, and Travis Scott. All three of them standing around, jokingly questioning whether she can actually make shots from impossible distances. But here's what everyone's missing. That From Anywhere ad isn't just clever marketing. It's Nike publicly acknowledging something that's about to reshape the entire economics of women's basketball, and the announcement that followed the commercial. It confirms what many of you have been predicting for months. The ad starts simple enough. Three of the biggest names in sports and entertainment watching Caitlin warm up. Travis Kelce calls out first, "Hey Caitlin, can you make it from there?" She drains it without hesitation. Jason Kelce moves farther back, more skeptical. "How about from here?" Swish. Travis Scott doesn't even bother asking because he already knows what's coming. They all do. The symbolism is perfect. Three men who've reached the absolute peak of their industries watching a woman do something they can't comprehend. And that's the point. Because while the internet was busy enjoying the celebrity cameos and the slick production, they missed the real message Nike embedded in every frame. This wasn't a commercial about basketball skills. This was Nike's public declaration that they're betting the future of their basketball division on what Caitlin Clark represents. And what she represents is a complete demolition of every assumption about what women's basketball can become commercially. If you believe there's a story behind the story that mainstream coverage won't touch, hit that like button right now. It tells us you're ready to connect the dots with us. Let's talk about what actually happened here. Nike didn't choose Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce, and Travis Scott randomly. Each one represents a different slice of the market Nike needs to capture. Travis Kelce brings the NFL audience, the mainstream sports fans who might not watch WNBA yet. Jason Kelce connects to the blue-collar, regular guy demographic who sees authenticity over flash. Travis Scott pulls in the younger generation, the cultural tastemakers who decide what's cool. Nike positioned all three of them as amazed observers of what Caitlin can do. That's strategic genius. The 8-year or $28 million deal that got announced back when she entered the league. Many of you called it immediately. That was just the foundation. The real play was always about 2026, spring 2026 to be specific. That's when Caitlin's signature shoe drops. And based on what industry insiders are projecting, we're looking at potential 9-figure revenue. Not for the year, for the franchise. That would make her signature line a top 5 basketball shoe across both men's and women's categories. Think about that for a second. A WNBA player with a shoe performing at the same commercial level as the biggest names in the NBA. That doesn't just move the needle for Caitlin Clark, that rewrites the entire revenue model for how women's basketball players can build their brands. And Nike knows it. Elliott Hill, Nike's CEO, went on record saying they want to make sure everything from her logo to the actual product is exactly the way she wants it before launch. They're not rushing this. They're building something that has to work perfectly because the stakes are massive. But here's where it gets interesting. The From Anywhere commercial wasn't designed to sell shoes that don't exist yet. It was designed to reinforce a narrative that makes the 2026 launch inevitable. Every shot Caitlin makes from an impossible distance, every defender who can't figure out how to guard her, every sold-out arena when the Fever come to town. Nike is positioning all of that as proof that From Anywhere isn't marketing speak. It's literal reality. And that brings us back to how this all started. You know the story, but most coverage glosses over what it actually meant. Caitlin Clark grew up in Iowa, shooting baskets in her driveway. Standard athlete origin story, right? Except her version was different in ways that explain everything happening now. When Caitlin came home from watching a WNBA game in Minnesota as a kid, she didn't just want to play basketball. She wanted to shoot from farther away than anyone thought possible. She begged her dad to tear up their lawn and pour more concrete so she could have a complete three-point line in the driveway. Not because she wanted a nicer practice area, because she needed the distance. When other kids were inside playing video games, Caitlin was outside in Iowa winters, shooting until her hands went numb. When other players missed shots, they moved closer to the basket. When Caitlin missed, she stepped back farther. Reading between the lines of how coaches and scouts talk about her early years, you can see the pattern. Too small for a forward position, not quick enough for elite guard play, not athletic enough for the highest levels. Every evaluation that doubted her, every coach who said she couldn't compete at the next level, became fuel. She went back to that driveway and started shooting from even more impossible distances. By the time high school coaches saw her play, they couldn't process what they were watching. She wasn't just making shots from the parking lot during practice. She was making them consistently, at percentages that defied logic for someone her age and size. Coaches started calling other coaches. Word spread about this kid from Iowa who could genuinely shoot from anywhere on the court, not as a party trick, as her actual game. This mentality became her signature long before Nike ever got involved. The harder the shot Vispum, the more motivated she became to make it. Her high school coach had to design entirely new offensive systems, specifically around her range, because defenders simply couldn't guard someone who could score from 35 feet away. The entire defensive strategy of women's basketball had to evolve just to account for what one player from Iowa could do. When she reached Iowa's college program, that driveway training had transformed into something legendary. She wasn't just shooting from the logo, she was making shots from the logo with defenders draped all over her, under game pressure, with championships on the line. The same range that started as a kid trying to prove herself had become a weapon that changed how the game was played. Nike executives watched all of this unfold during her college career and saw something completely different from what other brands were seeing. They didn't see just another talented player with exceptional shooting ability. They saw someone who had literally redefined what was possible on a basketball court, someone who had turned doubt into determination, criticism into confidence, and impossibility into inevitability. The From Anywhere campaign wasn't invented by marketing executives in a boardroom. It was the literal truth of what Caitlin had been doing since she was shooting alone in that Iowa driveway. And this is where we need to pause and recognize something crucial. Drop your thoughts in the comments about what you think the 2026 shoe launch actually means for the future of the WNBA. Because this conversation matters more than people realize. Now let's connect what happened in that commercial to what's coming in 2026. The timing of the shoe launch isn't accidental. Nike CEO Elliott Hill made it crystal clear they're taking their time to get every detail right. From her logo design to the actual product specifications, everything has to align with exactly how Caitlin wants to represent herself. They're not rushing this release because they can't afford to miss. Spring 2026 positions the launch perfectly. Caitlin will be fully healthy and back to dominating the WNBA after dealing with injuries. The league continues growing every single season. Women's basketball viewership keeps breaking records. The WNBA's economic momentum isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. And Caitlin sits at the center of that acceleration, whether the league wants to acknowledge it publicly or not. Here's what the numbers are already telling us. In 2024, playing just 13 games due to injury, Caitlin accounted for nearly 27% of the WNBA's total economic impact. Read that again. One player in 13 games generated more than a quarter of the entire league's economic value. Her signature shoe launch in 2026 will multiply that economic power and direct it toward growing the sport globally. Nick DePaula, who's an expert on athlete endorsements and sneaker culture, wrote that Caitlin's anticipated Nike signature shoe could become a top 5 signature franchise across all of basketball. Not just women's basketball, all of basketball. Industry insiders are projecting 9-figure revenue potential. That's the kind of money that changes organizational thinking about what's possible. But here's where Caitlin's approach becomes revolutionary. Traditional athlete endorsements follow the same playbook every time. Sign a star athlete. Create flashy marketing. Focus on individual brand building. Make as much money as possible. Maximize personal profit. Caitlin is challenging that entire model from the inside. She's been crystal clear about her actual goals. She wants more opportunities for young girls in the sport. She believes her visibility can inspire them to believe they can be really good at basketball. The shoe isn't just another product to her, it's a tool for that inspiration. She's using this platform to expand opportunities for girls basketball globally, not just to build her personal wealth. You can already see this philosophy in how she treats her teammates. Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hull, Kelsey Mitchell. Caitlin constantly highlights their contributions and elevates their profiles. She uses her massive platform to bring attention to players who deserve more recognition. The signature shoe launch will follow this same pattern. She's positioning it as a symbol of accessibility and community engagement rather than exclusive luxury. The broader vision connects directly with grassroots basketball programs. The signature line will support international expansion efforts. China got mentioned specifically as a country she anticipates visiting soon to inspire young athletes. The From Anywhere campaign already references this global impact. Nike designed the entire strategy around reaching fans worldwide, not just selling shoes in American markets. Let's talk about what that symbolism in the commercial actually meant. Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce, Travis Scott, all these incredibly successful men standing around watching Caitlin do something they can't comprehend. They're not just celebrity cameos. They're representing every person who ever said she couldn't do something. Every coach who thought she was too small. Every scout who said she wasn't athletic enough. Every analyst who predicted she'd struggle at the next level. And in the commercial, what happens? They watch in amazement as she proves them all wrong. From Anywhere on the Court, the song choice was perfect too. Boys Wanna Be Her by Peaches. That sums up everything about Caitlin's cultural impact. Girls want to be her. Boys want to be her. The appeal goes broad in ways we haven't seen before in women's basketball. NBA fans, men's college basketball fans, sports fans in general found something magnetic about her game that transcended typical audience boundaries. Nike already launched her signature apparel collection as a preview, hoodies and sweatpants featuring her CC logo, available in both adult and children's sizes. You can find them on Nike's website and at sports retailers across the country. The From Anywhere commercial prominently featured this gear as a taste of what's coming in 2026, and the demand has been massive. But the real impact goes beyond commercial success. When kids put on her shoes in 2026, they're not just wearing athletic gear. They're connecting to a movement that says you can make it from anywhere. That little girl shooting alone in an Iowa driveway proved it. Every shot from an impossible distance was building towards something much bigger than personal achievement. She was creating a blueprint for turning obstacles into opportunities. The economics of women's basketball are about to shift dramatically, not gradually, dramatically. The 2026 launch represents Caitlin reaching the top of her sport and using that position to create pathways for the next generation. Young players will see new possibilities for what they can accomplish. The blueprint she built shows that From Anywhere isn't just a slogan, it's a promise. If you want to stay ahead of how this 2026 launch reshapes everything, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we'll be tracking every development as it happens. And based on what we're already seeing, the next 18 months are going to be absolutely massive. Clark's journey proves something the establishment doesn't always want to admit. That kid they said was too small, too slow, not athletic enough, just rewrote the entire playbook. The 2026 season won't just mark her return to full strength. It will launch a new era where women's basketball players can build the same kind of global brands we've only seen in men's sports. And it all traces back to that Iowa driveway, to those cold mornings when everyone else was inside, to a father who believed in his daughter's obsession enough to tear up his lawn. to a kid who responded to every doubt by stepping back farther and shooting from even more impossible distances. That's not just an inspiring story. That's the foundation of a revolution. The From Anywhere commercial wasn't revealing something new. It was Nike finally catching up to what many of you recognized years ago. Caitlin Clark doesn't just make shots from anywhere. She's proving that you really can make it from anywhere if you're willing to keep shooting when everyone says you can't. And in 2026, when that signature shoe drops, millions of young players around the world will believe that promise applies to them too. We'll see you in the next one.